The question is deceptively simple. Please don't be deceived by the simplicity of the question. It may be one of the most important questions you ever ask yourself. The question is simply this. The question that's the reason for every decision, the basis for every choice, at the heart of every challenge. The question is, who am I? Who am I? Who are you? And there are many, many people in the world, so the question is, who are we? This is important because the way you answer this question in your mind, the way you answer this question in your heart, becomes the lens through which you will see the world, the lens through which you will see yourself in the world. The way you answer this question. This is an important question. I have spent most of my adult life searching the world to understand how we as humans answer this question. How did our ancestors answer this question? Because as a scientist, my thinking has been, if I could find the places in the world least disturbed by the modern world, the answer would be more intact. And my journey has taken me to some of the most amazing places in the world. For me, this is probably the most difficult part of the afternoon, because I'm going to share with you some images of my journey, and every image has a story, and I cannot tell you every story today. I'm going to ask, please, if you would not record these images from the indigenous people as well. Please don't record this. My journey has taken me to some of the most amazing monasteries in the world. This is in Tibet, 17,500 feet above sea level. I don't know what that is in meters. What is that in meters? Anyone know? 17,000 feet in meters? How much? 4,000 meters approximately. My journey has taken me to archaeological sites that scientists say should not exist because they are older than history tells us civilization is thought to exist. And I have documented these myself. This site, for example, is in northern Peru. This site is now confirmed to be the oldest archaeological site in all of the Americas. It's older than the Inca, older than the Maya, older than the Aztec, older than the Olmec, older than the Toltec. It is 2,000 years older than the oldest civilization that has been known before this. From the air looking down, this is what it looks like right here. It is a huge site, 5 pyramids, 3 of these circular plazas. We don't know who built this, but we know that the history is wrong. We know the history doesn't tell us. I have been to very simple monasteries made of mud bricks like this. This is in the mountains, the desert of Egypt, on the Sinai Peninsula. When you look at this on the outside, you would never imagine on the inside how beautiful this monastery is. Let me show you. When I walked through the door the very first time in 1986 into this monastery, this is what I saw. Isn't that amazing? It's beautiful. Who would know from this that it would look like this? This monastery is second only to the Vatican in terms of the texts and the artwork from the pre-Christian and Christian era. Second, the Vatican is number one. This monastery, St. Catherine's Monastery, is number two. It was in this monastery where we were shown this library. And this library contains the art that was created by people who witnessed the crucifixion of Jesus, and then they depicted what they saw. It's in this library. The woodcuts that show the crucifixion, the illuminated manuscripts that describe what happened, the image of the man who was actually crucified. This is the kind of information we find in the monasteries. You have been with me just now in Tibet. It was in this monastery where this monk opened the door to this library. You've seen this library. But the Tibetan books, these books like this, they are based on information that was created before the books exist. The information was written on stone, and it was shared in all the major religions like the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Buddhist traditions, the early Christian traditions. You might find this particularly interesting because you live in Italy. This is a section of the early Christian Bible that was removed in the 4th century AD. So it was edited away from the original Bible. It is the Gospel of Thomas. And the Gospel of Thomas is the depiction of the words of Jesus describing to his disciples the power of emotion and the power of the human heart to heal our bodies and to connect with one another. It's written in the Gospel of Thomas. If you have the opportunity to read the Gospel of Thomas, I think you will be amazed. Now that we have had this time together, how very clear the Master was telling his disciples of the power of the human heart to connect people and to heal our bodies. But this information goes back long before even the Christian traditions. It goes back into those ancient traditions, and we find it throughout. I've had the opportunity to share time with the people that live what's written in the books. I've had time to be with the people who live the traditions that are preserved in the monasteries. These are sadhus, S-A-D-H-U is how we say this for our translation. Yes? These are sadhus in northern Nepal. They are living the traditions, the Hindu traditions that were left in those libraries. These are the tantric masters in northern India. Doesn't that man look intense? Very intense look on his face. He is covered with the ash of the bodies that have been cremated through the day, and his job is to help the soul move from this world to the next world through the cremation. I've been with these people. We share meals together. I've been with these people when their children are born. I've been with them when their families have died. I've been with them in the revolutions in their country. And it's in the human experience, the experience of one person sharing time with another, is where the deep trust begins. And in that trust, it is where these people are comfortable sharing what's in the library, what's in the texts, sharing their most sacred traditions. I've been with the abbots and the monks and the nuns in Tibet. We've been with the shaman in Peru. You've seen this man earlier. With these people, and I want to talk just a little bit about this man. He is of a very rare lineage that is called Lacandon. Lacandon. He is 100% pure native blood. There is no Spanish blood. He is not mestizo. He is 100% of this lineage, and there are only about 600 of these people left that carry the wisdom of their ancestors now into the modern world. And it's all based in the power of the human heart. The human heart, it's like the secret the whole world knows except us in the modern world. It's like the secret that everyone knows and the modern world has forgotten. I've had the opportunity to be with the women who anchor the feminine wisdom, the amazing wisdom of the human heart and intuition from the past, the Quechuan women in Bolivia and Peru. So the point of this conversation is that for 5,000 years, our ancestors answered the question, who am I? Who are we? For 5,000 years, our ancestors answered the question in their way. And they answered the question in a way that worked for them very well. It wasn't science. It was not science, but it worked. We live in the modern world, and we rely upon science. Science is a very young way of exploring the world. Science is only about 300 years old. For 300 years, science has tried to answer the question, who are we? And one of the things that I find so interesting is that science has now, in the 21st century, arrived at the place where the ancient traditions begin. Science now has concluded that everything is connected. Quantum physics tells us everything is connected. For 300 years, science has been arguing, are we connected? Are we separate? How does the world work? Now, for 300 years, they've been trying to figure this out. And now, science is in agreement that everything is connected. The controversy is how deep the connection goes. How much influence do we have in the connection? But science now has arrived at the place where they agree everything is connected through the quantum field. That is the place where the ancient traditions began 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, the traditions began. They said, of course everything's connected. They didn't spend 5,000 years trying to prove it. Our ancestors spent 5,000 years learning to apply that connection in their lives. How do we apply this connection? How do we benefit from this connection? So for 300 years, science has been trying to answer the question, who are we? Science now answers the question with these 6 keys. This is an inverted pyramid, an upside-down pyramid. Science is answering what are called the 6 perennial questions, the big questions of life, beginning at the bottom. Number 1, where does life come from? What is the origin of life? Number 2, what is the origin of human life? Because maybe human life does not come from where other life comes from. Number 3, what is our relationship to the body? Number 4, what is our relationship to the world beyond our body? Number 5, what is our relationship to the past? Number 6, how do we solve our problems? Okay, these are the questions called the perennial questions. All civilizations, all religions, every organization that asks people to believe them and follow them must answer these questions. All right? For 300 years, you and I have been steeped in a story. We have been told a story that we now know is not true. It was the story of separation. For 300 years, science has told us that we are separate from the world, we are separate from one another, we are separate from our bodies. We've been told that the origin of life is random. We've been told that the origin of human life is random. We've been told that our relationship to our body is that we are separate and powerless to heal our bodies. This is what the modern medical model is all about. They see the body as a machine. When part of the machine breaks, you replace that part of the machine. They do not factor in the essence of the emotion, the essence of the soul. They're learning, but right now they don't. What is our relationship to the world beyond our body? Are we separate from the world, or are we connected to the world? What is our relationship to the past? We've been taught that civilization began in a primitive state, that civilization evolved to the modern world we see today, and that we are the most sophisticated civilization ever to exist on earth. That's what we are taught. The problem is that the new science is changing all of this. The new science tells us this is not true at all. And where this is really, really important is right here. You and I have been taught that nature is based upon competition. We were taught through Darwin's ideas that we live in a world of survival of the strongest. Competition and conflict is the way to solve our problems. When you were in school, when I was in school, if you have children in school right now, this is what they're being taught. It is a paradigm of separation. It is a paradigm of conflict. If you want to see the consequence of a world based upon these ideas, look out that door, and it's the world that we have now, the unsustainable world that is collapsing in many respects. The economy of the world is based upon competition and conflict. It's collapsing because it's no longer sustainable. The way we solve problems between nations is we're using war, we're using force, and it's collapsing because it's no longer sustainable. The way that we share vital resources, the way we share medicine, the way we share food, the way we share energy, it's all been based on this idea of scarcity and competition, and it's collapsing because it's unsustainable. And the reason it's unsustainable is because it is based in something that is no longer true. It is a false assumption. The best science of the modern world, we are now in the 21st century. 21st century science, peer-reviewed science, has now overturned all of these ideas. Every one of these is a false assumption, every one of them. But the schools will not teach the new information. The textbooks are not sharing the new information. The documentary films are not sharing the information in a big way on the mainstream television. New discoveries are now telling us that the origin of life is not random. The DNA in our body is telling us mathematically that we are not random beings. That's the science. It's telling us that life and human life is not random. The new discoveries are telling us that we are deeply connected to our bodies, through our thoughts, through feelings, through emotions, through the heart. And you know this. You know this because now you know that you can change the chemistry of your body through a heart-based experience. The best science of our time is now telling us that we are deeply connected to our world. We're not separate from the earth. The earth gives us life. And this is what our ancestors told us. Science is only beginning to embrace these very deep truths. Our relationship to the past. Our own science now is telling us that civilization is cyclic. There have been many civilizations here. Some of them have been very advanced, and I'm not talking about Atlantis. I'm not talking about Lemuria. Maybe they existed, they probably did, but the science has not confirmed that. What the science has confirmed is that there were advanced technological civilizations that existed all the way back into the last ice age. We're told that civilization is 5,000 years old. The science is showing us it goes back 15,000 years, 3 times as old as we've been led to believe. Okay? And the best science of our time is now telling us that Darwin's ideas are not universal. What Darwin saw happening in one place, in one moment, in one part of the world, does not apply to all life everywhere. That nature is actually based upon a model of cooperation, not competition. That nature is based upon what is called mutual aid, not conflict. And that changes everything. So as we go through our time of extremes, science gives us the reasons to think differently and change the way we go about solving our problems.